The Texas Tribune is asking, does a death row inmate have a civil right to access DNA evidence in his case? Attorneys for Henry Hank Skinner presented a case to the U.S. Supreme Court on Wednesday that their client should have a right to have DNA evidence tested that could prove his innocence. We remain hopeful that this court will allow us to seek this testing through the Civil Rights Act, Skinner's attorney Rob Owen told reporters. Attorneys for Gray County District Attorney Lynn Switzer, the prosecutor Skinner had to sue to get access to the DNA, claimed that it's more complicated than that, and if the court agrees with the convicted killer, it would undermine state law and create an expensive onslaught of inmate lawsuits demanding evidence. Criminal justice reform advocates and those opposed to the death penalty are scratching their heads wondering why any law enforcement official would oppose testing DNA evidence that might establish a person's innocence or guilt. Considering the current scandal involving agents who work within the North Carolina SBI crime lab, where SBI agents withheld blood evidence from defense attorneys that could have prevented the wrongful convictions of hundreds, if not thousands of people, and which resulted in at least 3 executions of innocent people, that prosecutors all over the nation would be moved to prevent further such tragedies from occurring. It appears that District Attorney Lynn Switzer, like many of her colleagues nationwide, are more interested in padding their professional records with convictions instead of making sure they have the right persons paying the ultimate penalty for crimes. It also appears that Texas is more worried about saving money than they are about putting possibly innocent people behind bars, and worse yet, putting innocent people to death. Then there are the victims and their families to consider, as how does it provide them with justice when the possibly real perpetrators of these crimes are not made to answer for their actions, because for the prosecution, literally anybody will do. Elizabeth Renter, a criminal justice reform advocate who also writes for several publications, appeared on Black Talk Radio News and Views with Scotty Reid yesterday to discuss, among other things, the North Carolina Crime Lab scandal.
There's a movement within the national criminal justice world to sort of set up a national oversight foundation or agency to oversee crime labs across the country, because right now it's left up to the state to decide how they're going to organize their crime labs, who's going to be in charge of them. And North Carolina is only one of 38 states whose crime labs are ran by a prosecutor or a law enforcement office. Now, when a crime lab is a direct link to the prosecutor or a direct link to the law enforcement, there's too great of an opportunity for it to get corrupt. Of course, they're going to be a little more likely to support the theories of the prosecutor, support the theories of the law enforcement officer, and the incentive for them to come out with evidence that might support the defense instead is going to be a little less likely when it's directly, their office is directly beneath the prosecutor.
You raised a number of issues there. The first issue is independence. Okay, I agree with you 100% that the pressure would be on the crime lab to support the prosecutors, because that's who they work for, basically. And so, have you heard anything or read anything about, or heard any possible reports about the need to make this an independent, standalone agency, not part of the Attorney General's office?
Absolutely. When the whole thing started getting uncovered, I know the local NAACP and possibly the ACLU, but some pretty, well-known, not just local, but national agencies have been calling on the state to establish an independent FBI crime lab. The state hasn't come back and said, yes, we're going to do this. No, we're not.
For more information on this story, visit the blog section of blacktalkradionetwork.com. This Black Talk Radio News Brief was brought to you by Daily Web Deals, a daily feature on the front page of the Black Talk Radio Network. Or for more great deals on digital products, visit www.dailywebdeals.blogspot.com.